Everybody, welcome back to Voices of Impact. I'm your host, Michelle Jewsbury, and I am super excited today to bring in our next guest, Rebecca L. Norrington. She's waving. Rebecca, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about who you are.
Well, in a nutshell, I am a happiness specialist, inner peace practitioner, and I'm going to throw in Oracle too. But most importantly, I'm a student, ongoing student, always learning, always growing. And how the heck did I get to be a happiness specialist? In fact, what is that? You want me to go on?
Yes, yeah, what
Yeah,
is that?
yeah. What the who does she think she is? What is that? Well, when I was younger, you remember blowing out your candles and making a wish?
Hmm.
And I always wished for the same two things. I wanted to live to my potential and I wanted to be happy. And when I said live to my potential, I had no idea what that meant. I kept it open, but I wanted to be happy. And then I found out, when maybe in late teens, 20s, 30s, this happiness thing that I was searching for up and down, up and down. When life hits you, then I'm not feeling that happy. And then was it possible to maintain and sustain happiness? And to be clear, when I say happiness, I'm talking about a personal vibration of contentment regardless of what happens. And so, yes, I have answers and I share with people how to do that. And it is a practice skill. Happiness is a practice skill. Inner peace is a practice skill. Contentment is a practice skill. So I just share with people what to practice.
Oh, that's awesome. I love this. For those of you listening, these are all blind interviews. So most of the time, about 95% of the time, I have never met the person that I'm interviewing. So this is the first time I'm interviewing a happiness coach and a happiness oracle. So I'm very, very excited to learn even more about your skill set. So when you were younger, you always wanted to be happy. Is that how you then transitioned into this? Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, not well, the thing is, I was curious about what this happiness was. I mean, feeling good in one moment and then then life hits you or you're in the middle of a life storm and then now I'm not happy. Was it possible to maintain, to stay, when I say happy, it has nothing to do with anything external, which what I found out because here I am like most program people, I'm going to get into that. Most program people thinking that achievements or accomplishments or money in the bank or relationships or all of that is going to equal happiness. And the happiness that I'm talking about again is an energy of contentment. And no, it's all this is horrible, but it's all an inside job. Yes.
Oh, how interesting. And, during the time of this recording, we have the Los Angeles fires going on. And it's January 2025, so somebody could be listening to this 5 years from now. And it's tragic that I personally know people who are going through a lot of hardship. I'm from Los Angeles. I lived there for 13 years and who knows, may end up going back at some point. But it's hard for these people to stay happy. And I live in Tampa, Florida. And in 2024, at the end of last year, I went through the hurricanes and I was here and my house was flooded. And during that time, it was hard for me to stay happy as well. So, in these times of great tragedy, how would you recommend or what words of advice would you give somebody who are going through these things to stay happy?
Well, let me, when you say stay happy, let me clarify that. It's not, oh, now I'm happy. It is really a foundational. What am I rooted in? I'm rooted in contentment. I'm rooted in trust. I'm rooted in knowing that whatever happens, including a disaster, and I'm from California too, and my son lives in California. But let me just go back to 2020 with the lockdowns.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why people were so turned upside down, and let me just throw in the fires or any kind of disaster, is because number one, there was no peace in uncertainty. There was uncertainty. There was a lack of control. There was a future. There really not a lot of trust going on, meaning that whatever happens to me, I'm just going to speak for myself, whatever happens, including a major disaster, I trust. I know it's difficult, but again, it's a practice. I've been doing this for 45 years. I'm 69. Don't tell anybody. 69, 45 years. And so the practice of trusting, knowing that whatever happens, and in fact, I'm going to throw something out if you don't mind.
Of course.
When my mother died in 2018, about a couple months later, I find out that she gifted the family house to her handyman. Yeah, and so see that reaction that you gave. And especially with this practice. Now it took me about 2 weeks to be able to laugh at that because of what I practice. It is a practice skill, and the practice is eliminating all the program behaviors. Number one, program behavior is, for an example, worry. Do you worry?
Of course. Hmm.
And see, so I love you already. When you say, of course, you didn't pop out of the womb knowing how to worry.
True. Yep.
You were taught. And so I say it's a program. Worry, there's only two reasons why people worry. Number one, they were programmed to worry. Number two, lack of trust. You can't trust and worry at the same time. So when you say, of course, it's just part of another program. And not to sell anything, but I just published a book last year, and in the book I list 56 program behaviors. So the practice is to, one by one, with patience, and with the patience and acceptance of self, is to eliminate each program behavior.
Yeah, I love that. And trust is so important. I
It's
mean,
everything.
yeah, and I went through a very abusive relationship, unknowing to me that God was using my story in a very miraculous way. But in the midst of all of that, in the midst of that tragedy, right, injustice, there was worry and there was a lack of trust. And when I finally was like, okay, God, I give it up to you, stopped worrying and started trusting, I then saw my life unfolding and I knew that God was using my story to help other people. And that's something that we don't realize. You know, when I went through the hurricanes even, I had to move out. I'm staying with friends of mine right now, but now I'm in a position where I'm looking at real estate and actually maybe purchasing a place, because he's opening up doors. Because if I trust, he will open.
Well, and see, when you were talking, I was just getting chills all over my body. I get chills when I hear the truth. And you just gave the perfect example. You were in a relationship, but what you went back and you discovered there was good because of that. And that's all I'm saying. With anything that happens, life is going to hit. It hits me, it hits everyone. But if you practice, again, happiness, contentment is a practice skill, just like any other skill, from writing to painting to singing to be an athlete. You have to practice. And number one, you have to value and prioritize this thing called contentment, this thing called inner peace. If it's not a priority, then it's just not. But it's been a priority for me for 45 years. And in fact, I don't know if you've heard of this. It's called the five most common regrets of the dying. Have you
Uh,
heard of that study?
no, I have not.
Hold on just a second. Let me just make sure, because I don't want to leave anyone out, even though I just, my memory. Yeah, it's a very famous study. It was done by a hospice nurse. You can Google it. Her name is Bronnie Ware, Bronnie Ware. And so she interviewed her patients that had days to live, weeks to live, months to live. And she asked them, what are your five biggest regrets? You want to hear what they are?
I do, of course I do, and I'm sure our audience does too.
Okay, so the first one is, I wish I pursued my dreams and aspirations and not the life others expected of me.
That's a good one.
Number two, I wish I didn't work so hard.
Mm,
Number three, I wish I had the courage to express my feelings and speak my mind.
mm.
Number four, I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. Now, I usually put an asterisk by that because sometimes we just outgrow people. Nothing wrong with them, nothing wrong with you. It's just, they're just here for a season. And the fifth regret is, I wish I would have let myself be happier.
Ah,
Bam.
bam, bam. Yeah, 100%. we worry often, right, Rebecca? You don't, but a lot of people
Program
program.
program people worry.
Yeah.
Yes.
So a lot of people are programmed to worry. And
I-
and it's interesting. I've heard similar answers to when people are on their deathbed, the things that they talk about, the things that they regret not doing or doing. And it all comes down to happiness, what you teach, what you stand for. And it's interesting to talk to somebody about happiness because that is everyone's goal. Everyone wants to be happy.
well, let me correct you on that because that's what I used to believe.
Okay.
I used to believe that everyone wanted to be happy too. But in fact, God, the universe, forced me, and I didn't even know why it forced me to watch this movie. It's a horrible movie. It's called Con Air
Oh,
with Nicolas
yes,
Cage.
Nicolas Cage, yeah.
Yeah, hold on a second. Let me find it because I thought I watched it maybe 4 years ago. I was just like you thinking, yeah, everybody wants to be happy. And there's a scene in that movie because I never knew why I was supposed to be watching, but there's a scene in that movie where Nicolas Cage, they're in a plane and he's asking one of the convicts about this guy who, murderer, rapist. I mean, he was just a horrible, horrible guy. And Nicolas Cage asked me, he says, "What's wrong with him?" And I wrote it down because it was that powerful for me. It says he's so filled with anger that moments of levity actually cause him pain, give him headaches. Happiness for him hurts.
Mm, mm.
So everyone doesn't want to be happy.
That's interesting. I think that I think that we're born not programmed to worry, and we're born to want happiness, right? And unfortunately, the tragedies and the adversities that people face guide them into anger and fear and resentment, and they become Scrooges. There's a bunch of Scrooges out there who then are so it's so normalized to be how they are instead of seeking or attaining happiness. That's so interesting.
Well, I love you, but I'm going to have to put your seatbelt on.
That's
Uh,
okay. Let's
one of the
go for a ride, Rebecca.
Yeah, one of the things that I also had to learn is that everybody is on their own individual journey, including these people that are angry and whatever they're going through. And one of the 56 behaviors that subtracts from my contentment is making a judgment and judging. So me judging someone else and their journey or who they are or what they're going through or how they're behaving, I can't do it. I can't do it. And the only reason why people judge, number one, it's a program. We're all programmed to judge, and all judgments subtract, and judging others comes from judging self.
Mm-hmm. And we are
Yeah,
our worst critic.
exactly. And that's another program.
Yeah.
So let me give you a quick solution to that and your audience. And this may sound, it was uncomfortable for me to really soak it in and believe it, but I don't care what you're going through, what I'm going through. I'm doing the best I can in any given moment. And so is everybody else. So guess what? I get an A plus for what I do, how I do it, what I say, A plus. So that self-criticism, because I grew up in a house that criticized criticized the wind blowing, and the self-criticism is gone.
Yeah, I love that. When we grow up in households, oftentimes we uh, retreat against or we become a part of what that household taught. So, with child abuse, domestic violence issues, I work a lot in this field combating these issues and human trafficking issues. And it is, I was at an event in Dallas. I was hosting an event called the Blanket of Hope. And this was back in 2022, and I had a police officer speak on stage, and he said that 40 to 60% of kids who experience abuse in the home either turn out to be abusers or the abused. And that's really interesting to think about because it's something that we don't attain to be, but it's because of that nature nurture controversy, right? What happened in nurture will, unless you worked through it, will come out. So your tissues hold on to the issues, right? So you have to feel in order to heal, and you have to feel through some of that pain in order to really overcome and search and get out of the pre-programming so that we can be happy. I love that. I love that. So let's fast forward a little bit, Rebecca. You said that you are a young 69. I love it. And what is next for you?
You know, one, well, let me just say this. I've been teaching these classes, The Truth About Happiness. I taught them in California, in Oregon, and now I'm in Las Vegas. And I'm teaching them at UNLV to it's the OLLI division, which are seniors. I mean, I have people, students. This is going to be my sixth semester in February. Students 60 years old, 70 years old, 80 years, 90 years old, still seeking, still searching for this thing called happiness. So I continue to do that. But one of the things that I really don't do is seatbelt again, future goals, future planning anything in the future, and surrendering to God's will, the universe's will. I don't have any wants or desires other than what the universe or God wants for me. So I'm up for anything, and being okay and trusting the plan and trusting the divine plan. So future other than making, maybe traveling. I know I'll be at podcast on Wednesday, Thursday. I know I'll be there, but other than that, no, I don't really plan the future.
Okay, well, you said travel. So tell me some of the places that you've been to and that you want to go,
There's some places that I've been to.
that you enjoyed.
Okay, well, one of my highlights. This question is interesting. It's a human question, so I'll answer it. One of my highlights was Iceland. I loved going to Iceland, and also in June I'm going to Machu Picchu.
Oh, that's awesome. I've never been
Yeah,
to either one of those places.
yeah, yes. So, and that's just what have I done? I mean, traveled. I've been to Europe. But who cares? Who cares? Seriously, I mean, I'm yeah. What's interesting to me is in fact, let me ask you a question. How are you different than you were 6 months ago? How are you different than you were 3 months ago? How, monitoring growth, not paying attention to, but yeah, focusing on growth and expansion, expanding consciousness, expanding self-awareness. That's what really turns me on. Where did I go?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's awesome. But
I'm a
in the
little
travel,
odd.
I'm sure you expanded your self-consciousness.
Excuse me?
I'm sure in that travel, you expanded your consciousness for sure. Um, I know for me, when I travel, I tend to talk a lot more to God and really kind of resonate and trust in what he's doing and where he's leading. And I do plan for the future, right? But I plan to have plans change, and that's okay with me. As long as it's in my calendar, I'll just switch my calendar. One of
Hmm.
those people, right? Where it's there, but if we plan a change, that's totally fine. But that's worked for me, and it's interesting you ask, how I've changed, and those of you listening, right? How have you changed 6 months, 3 months ago? And there's a drastic difference in me even we'll just say 2 years ago when I moved to Florida from California. There was a huge shift, a mental shift, a physical shift. It was a trusting shift where I just picked up and went. And I was very scared. I quit a regular job and went full time in my business. And God, the universe, God, Jesus for me, right? He took care of me. And it's that trust. So I love that. So Rebecca, if somebody wants to work with you, how do they get a hold of you?
Well, I have a website, rebeccanorrington.com. I also am on Instagram, Reality Spirituality. I'm on Twitter, RL Norrington, but I also do a weekly podcast every Sunday, and people can call in, or actually the platform that I was using, they're going out of business at the end of January. So you can just chat, but you can send me a chat. But I'm live on YouTube every Sunday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And then on Saturdays, I do a live show with my son. This is our 57th show. It's at 9:15 Pacific Standard Time, called uh, What Happens When a Mother and Son Make Sense Out of Nonsense, plus more. So it's a show about spirituality, our relationship, family, and but you can find me. You can Google Rebecca Norrington, and you'll find me all over the place.
That's awesome. You have been a delight. Any last words of wisdom for our audience members?
Last words of wisdom. Last words of wisdom. Okay, so let me share this. When I start the class, The Truth About Happiness, when what if I said to you, what if I said, I'll give you the answers to all of your challenges, to all of your problems, to all of your ups and downs in life. It's actually a gift. And I'm going to share with you what that is. And it's a mirror. And so all of it's found in the mirror when you're willing and able, when you're willing to look in the mirror and say, "Oh, I can't blame this person. I can't blame circumstances. It's what can I do to change?" Audience, have the power to do and to change and expand and get to a point where that if you prioritize this vibration of contentment, everything else just falls into place.
Mm, I love that. I love that. Trust and look at yourself if you want to make some changes.
Surrender to the moment, and so you're either vibrating a sense of satisfaction or dissatisfaction in any moment. Satisfaction or dissatisfaction. So practice being satisfied in the present moment and know that everything that is happening is unfolding for your betterment.
I love that. I love that. That's a great note to end on. Rebecca, you have been so fun. And for those of you out there, if you want more information, you can go to michellejewsbury.com. And this has been Voices of Impact.